Okay, picture this. Visualize a stunning 4K heritage scene. Ancient, weathered scrolls are resting on a stone table, and right before your eyes, the text slowly begins to transform into these glowing, interconnected digital nodes. It's kind of the perfect way to visualize the profound historical mystery we are diving into for today's explainer. Have you ever wondered why ancient divine promises made to the patriarchs, like the massive blessings given to Jacob, take literal millennia to fully deploy into reality? We're talking about the ultimate deferred promise here, and today we're going to completely reverse engineer exactly how and, more importantly, why this happens.
So, let's get specific. We are exploring the really profound mystical mechanics behind the delayed fulfillment of Jacob's blessing. If we look at the Zohar on Parashat Vayahiki, we read about this incredible moment where the divine says to Jacob, "I will make you fruitful and multiply you," essentially promising this eternal inheritance of land and endless descendants. But if you look at actual history, right, this promise wasn't realized the next day, it wasn't realized the next century. So why the wait? Well, to really get this, we have to stop reading this delay as some kind of failure or divine forgetfulness. Instead, we need to read it like a scheduled system deployment. Think of it as a massive cosmic software release. The features are absolutely promised in the initial spec, the early versions, but they literally take generations of intense beta testing in the physical world to actually go live.
And the foundational sources back this up perfectly. Take a look at this absolutely fascinating quote from the Etz Hadat Tov. It reveals that the ultimate realization of these ancient promises was, honestly, never meant for their immediate time. It just wasn't. Instead, it is intricately staged for the messianic end. It's a long-term roadmap. The text is telling us that history itself is the timeline for this immense cosmic project to unfold.
So, to decode this cosmic pipeline, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover 1. The deferred promise, 2. The architecture of the Sephirot, 3. Color-coding the cosmos, 4. The cosmic pipeline, 5. The 7 cycles of time, and finally, number 6, the ultimate release. Let's jump right in. Okay, starting with Section 1, the deferred divine promise. This is our initial design spec.
The Zohar teaches us something really beautiful here. It says that while Jacob received a completely radiant and perfect promise, his actual vision stretches across vast, sweeping expanses of time. It's not immediate. In this vision, lands appear, and then they fade into the mist. Bitter exiles violently unfold, and generations constantly rise and fall. It is only way out at the distant horizon that a complete, luminous inheritance finally solidifies into reality. The initial promise was just the seed, right? But human history is the soil it has to grow in.
Moving on to Section 2, Architecture of the Sephirot. Let's look at the actual system staging.
Now, the text introduces us to the concept of the Sephirot, and this is where the cosmic engineering analogy just fits perfectly. In software development, you don't just push code straight to live, right? You have different staging environments. You have development, testing, QA, and finally production. Well, the Sephirot function exactly like that. They are 10 divine dimensions that act as filters, bringing the infinite will all the way down into the dense physical universe. So those early features of reality, they are promised at the very top layer, but they require multiple intense testing phases, slowly descending through these dimensions before they can hit full activation at the bottom.
And the Book of Creation, Sefer Yetzirah, is incredibly strict about this architecture. It says 10 and not 9, 10 and not 11. The entire system is mathematically bound to these 10 specific layers. It's an exhaustive, incredibly long-term project pipeline where the initial design specs, like Jacob's blessing, absolutely must pass through every single layer, sequentially, before final completion. There are no shortcuts here. You cannot skip a step in cosmic engineering.
Which brings us to Section 3, color-coding the cosmos. Let's talk about the spiritual variables at play.
This is one of my favorite concepts. The sources essentially color code how the system regulates the flow of history. Look at this. Chesed, which represents mercy, is color-coded white. This is the system function that pushes the update forward. It preserves the grace of the original promise. Then you have Gavura, representing judgment, which is red. This acts as an intensely strict quality assurance process that actively delays the realization. And finally, Tiferet, harmony, is a green or yellow shift, which balances that push and pull to create the actual historical unfolding we experience.
So, what's the crucial takeaway here? It's that periods of historical delay and exile, what the texts call the red periods or periods of din,
They aren't bugs in the system. They aren't accidents or mistakes. They are absolutely vital QA testing phases. The physical world literally has to be stress tested and upgraded over generations to ensure it can actually handle the massive spiritual energy of the final deployment. And meanwhile, the white periods, the rachamim, or pure mercy, are operating quietly in the background to preserve the core promise so it doesn't get lost during those really hard red times.
All right, section 4, the cosmic pipeline. Let's map out this master progression.
Okay, if the software analogy didn't do it for you, think of it exactly like a role-playing video game. Have you ever played a game where your character receives this incredibly powerful ultimate ability right at the start of the tutorial, but then it's immediately locked? You have to grind and progress through dozens of levels before unlocking its full potential? That is this pipeline. Step 1 is Keter and Chokmah. That's the initial divine will and the seed of the promise given to the patriarchs. Level 1. Step 2 is Binah and Tiferet, the slow, grueling development over time and the massive historical unfolding. And step 3 is Yesod, the transmission through the generations, finally landing in Malchet, the ultimate realization in the Messianic era.
And because of this long pipeline, we see the number 2 constantly popping up in these source texts. This number is huge. It represents the stark, fundamental division between the initial promise and its ultimate delayed fulfillment. It perfectly captures that agonizing gap between the beautiful design phase and the fully functional live product.
Let's look at the timeline. In Section 5, 7 cycles of time, the cosmic QA testing schedule.
The cosmic blueprint maps this out so clearly for us. Millennia 1 through 6, those are the active working phases. That's us sowing the seeds of history and navigating those really intense red staging environments we just talked about. Now, the number 7 is universally recognized in these texts as the cycle just before absolute completion. So, the 7th millennium is the Messianic Sabbath cycle. It stabilizes the entire system for the final release. And then Millennium 8 represents a total, complete cosmic renewal.
This text from the Etz Hadat Tov just hits the nail on the head. It directly maps the ancient 6 days of creation to 6,000 years of human effort. Think about that. Every single generation's struggles, all their innovations, their moral choices, it is all manual labor. We are actively preparing and upgrading the physical hardware of the world so that it won't just crash when the ultimate software update is finally installed. We are doing the prep work.
And that brings us to our final stop, Section 6, the ultimate release, version 10.0. 10. 10 is the number of full, complete manifestation. It represents the precise, glorious moment when that ancient promise made to Jacob finally passes through all the QA testing, survives all the intense color shifts, and reaches the 10th and final Sephirot, Malchut. The waiting finally ends and the promise deploys fully into reality.
So, to summarize our whole deep dive today, the agonizing delays in Jacob's blessings, they aren't divine forgetfulness, not at all. They are a meticulously scheduled deployment within a massive cosmic engineering pipeline. The Sephirot act as necessary staging environments for this reality. The red periods of strict judgment, as tough as they are just there to test our readiness. And the 7th millennium is on the calendar to bring that glorious version 10.0 fulfillment right down to earth.
So I'll leave you with this thought. How does viewing your own life's delays, your own setbacks, as necessary staging phases change your approach to personal growth? Something to think about. Thank you for joining us for this complete journey through the Pardes. We hope these ancient truths help you and your family improve your own dimensions this week. If you enjoyed this full chapter deep dive, please like, subscribe, and share which part of the journey touched your soul in the comments. We'll see you in the next chapter.